Hi there, my name is Maya Kura, and today I will be focusing on the frog dissection. Go and share my screen. All right, and let me go and do this real quick. Okay. All right, so as you can see, we're going to start off with the external anatomy. And this here is the frog. This frog specifically is a bullfrog, an American bullfrog at that. And you can tell this because of the markings that are on the frog. They're a little bit different than the typical leopard frog that's used. And you can also tell how up top, this frog appears very smooth. And then once we get to the bottom, it looks a little bit bumpy, a little bit more rigid. And I'll go on that, talk about that in the coming slides. All right, and here is the underside of the frog. As you can tell by its webbed feet and its hands, this frog, this frog has obviously been sitting in preserving chemicals for a bit of time. And right here, in this underside area is where our main dissection for the internal anatomy is going to be held at. All right, here we're going to go and focus on the external anatomy, but specifically the face. As you can tell right here, this is the eye of the frog. Unfortunately, it has passed, and so that's why it looks cloudy. And then right here, we have this really interesting circular structure. This is called the tympanic membrane. Now, the tympanic membrane is similar to that of an eardrum, and this is how a frog hears. Frogs don't have ears like we do, but we humans have a membrane that works similarly to a frog's tympanic membrane. However, compared to humans, the frog tympanic membrane is much, much more powerful. And for our next slide, we're going to look at the skin. So as you can see here, as I said before, this is a close-up look at the skin and how it looks very bumpy. And in this region is where the cloaca resides. Unfortunately, you can't really see it very well in this image, but the hole is there. And the cloaca is used here, the cloaca is essentially the hole where frogs will go and release sperm or eggs, and they'll also release any urine and feces. Here is a close-up view of the webbed feet of the frog. As you can see here, they have several joints, and this is used because when they jump, they have to put a lot more pressure on their feet, and so that these joints allow them to go and put as much push on the ground as they can. And then here on the right, this is the full leg of the frog. Apologies. And then here is the hands, or the thumb pad. And so the thumb pad for a frog is actually really interesting because that's one of the ways that they grab their food. But you can also determine the the sex of a frog by looking at their thumb pads. So you can see here, this thumb pad is pretty big compared to the female frog. And so because it has such a big thumb pad, scientists have been able to figure out that the larger the thumb pad, the more likely that the said frog is male. And so just from observing this, you can pretty much tell that this is going to be a male frog, since female frogs have smaller thumb pads. And another interesting point is that these little joints right here, they're very easy to see. And this is because frogs also use their hands when they jump. And these visible joints, it helps put more pressure on the ground, as I said before, so that they can make a farther jump. Okay, now we're going to go and focus on the mouth of the frog. So frogs are really, really interesting just because of just their interesting anatomy in general. Frogs are cool. So are all amphibians, in my personal opinion. Anyways, getting back to the lecture, we're going to go and focus on the teeth first, just because that's easier. So right here, this is the top jaw of the frog, but specifically this line right here, those are actually small little teeth of the frog. And these type of teeth are the main teeth that are used for chewing. They're called maxillary teeth. And so when a frog finds its food, it's just going to go and chew with this. And then they also have a second set of teeth, but this set of teeth is actually used differently. And they're found right here, and they're called vomeron teeth. And these teeth right here, their function is to go and hold on to the food so that it can't move and it can't leave. So once frog catches you, that's it, you're stuck. And then it's a little bit hard to tell here, but these holes right here, those are the nares. And so these nares are essentially holes that are used so that when a frog breathes, you can see with the nose, they also have holes on this side. They can go and inhale and exhale, and the air goes down their throat. Apologies. Okay, and then we have the eustachian tubes that are on this end. And then this just helps protect the membrane, the tympanic membrane, as mentioned here. They're connected to this part. And they just help protect it from any strong vibrations. And they'll do this by putting pressure. And so that's why you might see some frogs croak or have larger cheeks, so to speak, because they're actually trying to go and fix the pressure of their ears or their tympanic membrane. Okay, and then this here obviously is the tongue. This is how they mostly catch food, like flies, other insects. Oh, apologies, did not mean to do that. And such. But the tongue typically can go and pull far, but unfortunately, because this frog, it has been deceased for quite a time, it does not pull that far. And then we'll go and move on to here. This part is the glottis. And so the glottis actually has a wonderful function where it opens and closes. And this is determined if the frog is inhaling air or if it's swallowing down food. So when the frog inhales, the air or oxygen goes and filters down through this hole and it is open. And then if a frog is swallowing food, it's going to close so that no food goes and gets in the lungs. And then down there, this part here, apologies again, is the esophagus. And that's going to go and lead down into the stomach. Okay. And now we're going to go and focus on the frog internal structures. So here's a better image of just what the internal structures look like. As you can see here, they kind of look like fingers. That's going to be our fat tissue. And then this large part right here, now that's actually the liver, which is really interesting because it has a very large liver. And when you think about human anatomy, you're going to think of the lungs first, and then the liver is kind of down lower in the abdomen. But here instead, it's the liver that's up top. And then this here is the heart. And then as you can tell, there's like a small little membrane on top. And that is the pericardial sac. And so that just protects the heart. What's really interesting about a frog's heart is that it actually only has 3 chambers compared to how humans have 4 chambers. And this is because one of the ways that frogs gets oxygen is through their skin. And so with having only 3 heart chambers, the frog is able to go and get more oxygen throughout its body. And then some of the other structures that you can just see visibly without me having to dig around is the small intestine, and then down here peaking is the large intestine. And here is a better image of the fat tissue. It's usually pretty easy to remove any type of fat tissue from dead bodies. Luckily for frogs, you can just easily pull it out without having to go and cut any other tissue or membrane. But for humans, you would have to go and do some cutting. Okay, and now we're going to go, and once the tissue has been removed, definitely get a better view of the frog's internal structure. So right here, that's going to be the lung, and then this right here is the stomach. As you can see here, that is the gallbladder. And then down here is going to be, unfortunately, because that tissue is kind of in the way, you can't really see. You can kind of see the bladder. Anyways, this is going to go and lead down, and that's going to lead to the hole where, or the cloaca, the hole of the cloaca, where urine, feces is going to go and be released. And then this is the other side. So this is, the other lung, and then this is a better view of the large intestine, and then here the small intestine. And then typically in this area, unfortunately, because I was unable to go and move it deeper without damaging the internal organs, would be where the where the bile bladder would remain. Okay, and then here, this is actually the kidneys. They lay in a very interesting area. And then this right here is the testes. And then same as before, the liver, the stomach, the large intestine. And then this is just a better image of what this area looks like down here. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much. If you're curious about the functions of the stomach, the kidneys, the gallbladder, it's the same functions that any other human has. The stomach digests, the liver goes and filters out any toxins, the kidneys help go and remove any other toxins that are in the body, and it also helps with producing urine. The small intestine, actually, this is interesting. The large intestine is where the nutrients are absorbed, while the small intestine is, for humans, is normally where the nutrients are absorbed, but for a frog, it's in the large intestine. The lungs, that's where oxygen is absorbed, of course, and you can actually see that it's very red, and this is because of the high oxygen amount that is in. And then the testes is where the sperm is produced. The gallbladder, it's kind of a unneeded organ just in animals in general, but it just helps remove some toxins as well. And then the bile bladder the bile organ is where bile would be produced and then sent to the stomach. But otherwise, that's it. Thank you so much. And like Kermit here smiles, have a wonderful day because finals are coming up. Anyways, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.